Hey, what's up, guys? It's Adrian, and today we're going to give you a real breakdown of what it's like to have a DTG printer and some of the pros and cons. So let's get to it. So I have owned a DTG printer and I've also sold one. I've been through the ups and downs, and I want to share my experience with what the DTG printer came with, the pros, the cons, and a full detailed breakdown so you guys can help make your best decision for your business. So I did own the Epson F2100 printer, and it was a pretty solid printer. It wasn't the best on the market, but definitely got the job done and allowed me to have a lot of fun and a lot of creativity with my projects. So some of the pros with DTG is you can print full color, and you can also print one-off shirts, so bootlegs specifically. That's where I specialize in. So yeah, rather than screen printing where it's a whole setup and a whole cost, or direct to film, or some other type of some other type of printing, direct to garment allows you to have full creativity and full control over your image, and you're able to print pretty much whatever you like. So those are two of the main reasons why a DTG printer is useful, unless you use it for some type of direct to film purposes. But yeah, those were the two main reasons I benefited from it, because of the full color printing and able to print full on images of whatever you would like. So some other pros of DTG are going to be there's no setup fees, or there's no setup cost, there's no manual labor that you have to do for the setup. It's all digital files. So you either design the files yourself, or you have a designer send those files over to you, and you can upload any image, and there's no setups, there's no anything. You just have full creativity to print whatever you'd like. Also, DTG is very good for personalized and custom orders. So if someone has a special request, like a family member, friend, or even a customer, it's very efficient for that, and it's something that's not really a challenge at all. So another one of the pros is the content. I was able to provide really good content, and I think it's something unique and creative that not a lot of people see, and not a lot of people do, honestly. Um, my videos were able to gain, a lot of traction just off the customization, just off of me showing my process. It's something not a lot of people are familiar with, and it is quite new. So yeah, I mean, I think it's something that's unique and that's positive. You definitely want to take full advantage of what you're capable of doing. So that's something I definitely enjoyed with the printer. So now let's get into the cons. As I said, I do not have the print anymore, and that is for certain reasoning, which we'll get into right now. So first, DTG is very expensive, whether it be the printer itself, which start at about 8,000 to can range up to 30,000, just depending on where you want to go and how big your business is. So DTG is very expensive and not cheap to get into at all. So yeah, I saved money for about 1 year to get my DTG printer, the Epson F2100 before, and yeah, it's very expensive. It's not a cheap thing to get into, honestly. Okay, so con number two for DTG printers is DTG printers are very slow. A shirt can take about 3 to 8 minutes to print. So if you're doing two sides, DTG printing takes a long time. You sit there and you wait for the printer to print, and then you have to prep the next tee. It involves heat pressing each side for about 1 minute to 2 minutes. Um, and if you have a lot of orders, 6 to 7 minutes a side of a shirt isn't going to take a long time, isn't going to take a short time. It's going to take a while. So DTG, you spend most of your day printing, even if it's only about 10 to 30 orders, that's going to take you a few hours. So compared to screen printing, you can do a whole bulk order in less than an hour, even quicker than that. So DTG takes your time and is very slow. So yeah, that's one thing to consider. The time that it takes to print a T-shirt is very long. So if you're buying a DTG printer, it's something you got to consider heavily. So number three is going to be the pre-treatment process. Every shirt, mainly every shirt, you don't really have to on whites, but it's still nice to, because they have white shirt pre-treat. But every shirt that is put into the machine and loaded onto the platen has to be pre-treated, especially dark garments. If you're printing on a dark garment and you don't have pre-treat, it's going to go straight through the shirt, and it's just a waste of money. So the pre-treat process is also something that takes, you know, 1 to 2 minutes a shirt. So unless you're doing an all white order, then you don't have to pre-treat it, but you still would like to heat press the tees before you put it in the platen, just to iron out any type of wrinkles, or any type of water within the shirt, or any moisture, I would say, not water. Also, I did all of my pre-treating by hand with a spray bottle. I did not have a pre-treat machine, but pre-treat machines can also be a headache because they do clog and it is glue. Even with my little spray bottles, they would clog very much often, and I would have to replace them about weekly. So be careful with pre-treat, and just know that it is glue. It's going on the t-shirt, that it's basically what it is. So it causes a lot of maintenance issues that you might have to consider. And pre-treat machines are also not cheap. They're about 1,000 to 4 to 5,000. Or I mean, you can find one for cheaper, but that's where a decent one will start at about 1,000. Number four, this kind of goes back to the last two I've been talking about, but your time. I was running a one man business and it took up all of my time. I needed to be marketing, I needed to be putting my, things out there so people can see with my brand and with my shirts. But I spent most of my days printing, so I had no time to design. I had no time to market. If I was printing, I took up most of my day, which you know, I I wish I could have hired a printer so someone can focus full time on printing, but my business wasn't at that point. So maybe that's something to consider. If you are gonna buy a DTG printer, have something or someone that can work for you or with you with that business, because as a one man team, you will not be able to sit there and market, think of new ideas, print all day, and live a regular life. It just doesn't work out like that. There's too many things in the business that you have to consider and handle, and customer service. So it's a lot for one person. If you have a team, then it helps, but just think about your energy, your time. If you're a one man business, or if you have multiple people, direct to garment is a business where you are better off you having help and people around you to support that. So another con would be, if you're not running the machine daily, it does come with maintenance issues. So you need to be running it almost daily. Um, if I let my machine sit there for about 3 to 4 days, maybe 5 days, some days, because there was no sales or I just had no work to do, then I would have to do cycle treatments with cleaning, with different cleaning methods to make sure my nozzles and all the color was going to go through onto the shirt. Sometimes there would be errors where I'm printing a shirt and then the lines mess up, or something's going on because of the print heads being dried and not getting the proper cleaning, but also because I wasn't using it for 3 to 4 days. So that's something you have to keep in mind, that if you're going to buy a DTG printer, it only makes sense if you have a constant customer, a constant work in front of you to keep that machine moving, because the maintenance on it does take a while. And if you're just wasting the cleaner or wasting ink, and it does take ink to clean the filters and to clean the print heads, so you're wasting ink if you're just constantly cleaning it rather than using that ink to fulfill orders and to use it effectively. So one more con we're gonna have to go through is the environment your DTG printer is in. I don't know about anything other than the Epson F2100, but I know when it would get too hot in here, if I had all my machines running, then there would be a little temperature logo. I could put a picture up, and yeah, basically saying the environment is too hot. So if you're not in a you know room temperature, or cold room, something that's regulated for that machine to be in there, then most likely you're going to have some issues. So that's something you also have to consider. What space are you going to be working? Do you have the space? Do you have the necessary things in order for the machine to run smoothly and properly? And I even had to add a AC unit to my garage where I was working, because everything would be so hot in here. I live in Arizona as well, so it doesn't get any cooler. It's about 100 degrees. So with the machine running, with my heat press running, that was inevitable. That would turn on almost every time. So making sure you have the proper environment to work is also something you have to consider with direct to garment. Also, one thing you need to be thinking about is, how are you going to be selling your t-shirts, whether it be Shopify, Etsy. You need to have some type of crowd already established. If not, it doesn't really make sense to buy a DTG printer. like I said, you want that thing to be running every single day or as much as possible. So if you're just starting off, there's other routes like direct to film, or there's things where you can get samples made. But you want to have an established brand, or you want to be either a manufacturing company that specializes in one-off prints in a good area that you think you can have business, and it would help your business. But yeah, just really knowing that you have an audience, whether it be manufacturing or whether it be custom, or just knowing that you can provide a service to people in your area and that are in need of your services. You want to make your return on investment, so you don't want to make a $10,000, $15,000 purchase without having some type of backbone to that, without having some type of income, some type of reason as to why you're going to do that. So definitely don't go and put yourself in a huge financial hole if you feel like your business isn't ready, and just spend more time outsourcing and converting sales. That's where I started. I started just designing, and now I'm going back to designing because I have more time to focus on that. So yeah, definitely just make sure that it makes sense and you're not just buying a DTG printer to just make cool things, which is nice, but very cost ineffective. And guys, I know I'm giving a lot of cons right now because it didn't work out for me, but just because it doesn't work out for me doesn't mean it can't work out for you. There's hundreds of thousands of people out there that still have DTG, manufacturing companies, small business owners, hundreds of people still do it and still take full advantage of what it has to offer. So don't let my experience discourage you. I just want to give you guys the reality of what it's like to have that and some of the challenges and struggles you go through with a DTG printer. So definitely keep doing your research, and just keep an open mind because it is a huge investment for yourself. Yeah, so I would say just consider if you want to be a designer or if you want to be a manufacturer. I really wanted to be a designer, and I bought the printer thinking that I would be allowed to have full creativity, but I ended up becoming a manufacturer. And it's not really what I wanted to be. And that's not really where I wanted to go. I really didn't want to start a full on t shirt printing business. I just really enjoyed making graphics and bootlegs, and that was a good way for me to express that. But there was just a lot of struggles and a lot of things I had to discover with that printer. So yeah, hopefully you guys learn from my experience. Also, we're gonna go through one more con. So even though direct to garment does allow full color prints, the printing on those shirts is not as vibrant as screen printing. Yeah, it just doesn't show up the same. Even on the first, go around, it looks very nice coming out the machine at first, but even the vibrancy, if you put two shirts together, DTG and screen printing, is day and night. Even the prints last way longer with the pre-treatment and with the ink that DTG uses. They do tend to last a lot of washes, but they do fade a lot heavier than screen printing. So color vibrancy and quality is also something you have to consider. Do you care more about quality or do you care more about personalization? So basically, production, how long everything takes with DTG, and the cost are basically some of the reasons why I don't do DTG anymore and just find other ways to still be within the creative outlet. So I hope this gives you a clear idea of what it's like to have a DTG printer and what's the secrets behind the business. If you guys found this video useful, please drop a like, subscribe, give me some comments and recommendations below of what you guys want to see next. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.